Do you think we should persevere with the current app, which is the current advice of the government?
Good morning. Yes, I think we should persevere, but I don't think it should be subject to a lack of criticism. I think the criticism is completely valid, and I think if it goes on much longer without sort of delivering the results, particularly after what happens in Victoria, if we don't see a lot of contact tracing results from this particular period, then I think they have to look at going back to the drawing board and maybe look at using more of the Apple and Google systems that they've built into their phones. You know, I think it's a great idea about contact tracing, but clearly this is a new thing and it may be a little bit rushed, and it's a big challenge for technology where this could be the saviour. Tech could be the saviour, but so far contact tracing has really been done manually, and I think if it goes on much longer where we're not getting results, then a lot of these apps just aren't going to be used by people at home. I really do think they must look deeply at it, swallow a bit of pride if necessary, because we're in for the long haul, because this app not only needs to work this year, but years to come, because it looks like we're stuck with this sort of virus pandemic situation for a long, long time.
Yeah, the idea being put forward is that the app is a backup, that the manual tracing is the most effective way, but they can use that information if they have some kind of failure in the manual tracing system. Do you think it's a failure of the design of the app, or is it just simply not being used yet?
That's a really good question, and I think the app is designed okay, but there are very big limitations to what Bluetooth can do. And here's the big issue. It's us, because we want privacy. And by making everything so private, it makes it difficult for contact tracing to work efficiently. If we could just tell who we all were at the drop of a hat, then it would make it a lot easier. I mean, the easiest thing of all will eventually be like facial recognition. So if you have some CCTV, and if it were allowed, you could just identify people there. Of course, that is a huge invasion of privacy, but that's the big issue for us. Because they're trying to make it so private, it does mean that it's only ever going to be a backup, as you just said, to the contact tracing that's done manually. So it really seems to me that we have to be all in with the tech. Happy to give up our locations, interactions for that really fast interaction. But at the moment, it's really never going to be more at the current state than a backup to manual tracing.
What is the rest of the world doing?
That's another great question, because everyone's doing a different thing. And I think that's a bit of a problem for us, because we really need to try and unify this attack with COVID tracing around the world. You know, Germany's got their own system. It's been hailed as one of the more efficient systems, because they've worked with SAP, a technology company, to really nut down to the finest detail how much distance Bluetooth can register. So the problem here is Bluetooth, because Bluetooth is not really meant to do this on a great big scale. And overseas, Germany's got an app on their own. France has got a centralised app. The UK wants to look at abandoning their app and take on what Apple and Google are providing inside the phone systems themselves. So they're a bit all over the place. You look at Singapore, they went out of the gate early with their app, but they're now offering a tag system for their older residents who can't get a smartphone or don't use a smartphone. And that's because these Bluetooth devices are about the size of, you know, something like an AirPods case, and that thing lasts for 9 months, and they don't need a phone. So they just walk around, and with these tags, talking to each other, it sort of picks up a part of the population that's not going to get a phone. So there are a couple of solutions around the world. We're just not consistent at it. And just think about it. If you travel around Europe, you're going to go from one country with a tracing system to another tracing system in another. It really does make it difficult. If the world comes together, we've got to come to some sort of unified solution.
And if we stick with this charging technology question, it's pushing the limits of smartphone batteries. How fast is it, and is it safe?
This is an incredible story. So Oppo, who make pretty good budget phones, but they make some expensive phones as well, they have now come up with a 125 watt charger and a 65 watt wireless charger for their phones. So they produced the recently released Find X2 Pro. These things are incredible. So I've been to the Oppo factories. I've seen these things in action in China a couple of years ago. This charging technology enables you to charge a phone of 4,000 milliamp hours in just 20 minutes. So 20 minutes, you can go from 0 to 100% capacity full. You can get 41% in just 5 minutes. So if you've got to rush out the door, you can do it. It's all done in a safe way. I really want to get my hands on it to test it out, but it's pretty exciting. So you can just, those moments when you jump out of the shower or whatever, you need to get a charged phone. Well, it's the end of waiting around for a long time. So great technology. And I spoke to Michael Tran, who's the Australian boss. He's actually the global guy who's been helping to promote this on my podcast, which you'll see later today, Conversation Bites. But Michael's leading the charge, so to speak, on this technology. But what I've seen, it looks pretty safe, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Very fast charging technology.
Very interesting stuff. And just finally, Google's new wireless earbuds are finally available in Australia. How do they match up against Apple's AirPods?
Yeah, they're not too bad. In fact, I'm wearing them right now. I think it's called Clearly White. Google has some bizarre names for them. And this is the case it comes with. And if you can compare that to the normal AirPods case and, of course, the AirPods Pro case, very similar, but it feels really nice. These things are fantastic, actually. They don't have the same noise suppression technology that the AirPods have, but they're a bit cheaper at $279, whereas the AirPods Pros are coming in at around $400. Really good. The thing I like about them, though, is they've got this great little hook in them that makes it easier. Hopefully I don't lose you, but this hook in the back of the earbud itself stays in your ear really well. So I mean, if you're like me, I've actually got two different ear canals, so they don't slightly match up. And if you go running, they're not going to fall out. And you just twist it in there and away you go. And you can talk to your Google Assistant and all that sort of stuff. But really good to see. Of course, they work well on Android phones, the Pixel phones, but they'll work on any Bluetooth handset like your iPhone as well. But there you go. Clearly White.
There you go. Amazing stuff. Djuro Sen, thank you so much for your time and all the latest in tech.
See you next week. Thank you.